In the old days, slapstick comedies used to get a lot of laughs when their performers slipped on a banana peel or tripped over their own feet and fell down. But in the real world, slips, trips, and falls are no laughing matter. In fact, they're involved in most of the accidents that occur in workplaces every day. They cause 17% of disabling occupational injuries and 15% of on-the-job fatalities. And you don't have to fall a long way to hurt yourself. Just slipping on a wet floor or tripping over an open file drawer can result in a fall that lands you in the hospital with a broken bone, strained back, concussion, or worse. But slips, trips, and falls can be prevented. In this program, we'll discuss the mechanics of slips, trips, and falls, the types of hazards that you're likely to encounter that lead to them, and the safe practices and equipment you can use to stay safely on your feet. To avoid slips, trips, and falls and the injuries that they can cause, it helps to understand just how we're able to stand and walk upright in the first place. First, we need to know something about our center of gravity. Our center of gravity is the point where the weight of the body is equally distributed, half above and half below, and it plays an important part in every movement that you make. Imagine that you're standing up straight. Now, draw a triangle with your feet forming the 2 points at the base and the third point of the triangle at your lower back. This upper point is located roughly where your center of gravity is. As you move, these 3 points constantly change position. If the upper point extends out past the lower points, you can lose your balance, and unless you regain it, you will fall. Because the shape and size of your body has a direct impact on how naturally stable you are, it's easier for some people to keep their balance than for others. A short person will have a lower center of gravity and be more stable than a tall person. It simply takes less of a push for the taller person's center of gravity to extend out past their feet so that they fall over. How you stand also affects your stability. You are in your most stable standing position when you are perfectly upright with your arms at your sides. This keeps your center of gravity low, at about the lower part of your spine and over your feet. On the other hand, if you're slouching or hunching your shoulders, your center of gravity can extend out past your feet, making you less stable. Reaching forward or sideways for something can have the same effect. When you reach over your head, you raise your center of gravity, which also reduces your stability. And the weight of anything that you're holding in this position just makes you that much more unstable. How you carry something can affect your stability as well. Putting a load on your shoulder not only raises your center of gravity, it throws it dangerously off to the side. On the other hand, you can increase your stability by carrying objects close to your body and as low as you can while keeping your back straight. We tend to take walking for granted, but it's actually a pretty risky activity, because it requires us to fall and catch ourselves with every step. And while we're doing that, there is a lot of opportunity for us to slip or trip along the way. To understand better why we can slip or trip, it helps to know something about momentum. Momentum is the force of movement that we build up as we move in any direction. The momentum that we build up tends to keep our body and its center of gravity moving in the same direction. But if we encounter something that interferes with our progress, such as an object in the way or a slick walking surface, it can cause trouble. Trips generally occur when our foot or lower leg catches on something. This causes our lower body to stop while our momentum keeps our center of gravity moving so that we lose our balance. Stepping onto a lower level, such as when we're going downstairs, can also cause us to trip, especially if the surface is uneven or damaged. Slips are a little different. When we walk, we want to have the best grip, that is the most friction, between the soles of our shoes and the walking surface. Slipping occurs when something interferes with that grip and causes our feet to move out from under our center of gravity while our momentum keeps us moving. This causes us to lose our balance, which, like tripping, can also result in a fall. It's important to remember that our momentum increases when we walk faster and when we carry more weight, things that we're very likely to be doing when we're on the job. So the faster we go and the more that we carry, the more attention we need to pay to potential slip and trip hazards. You need to watch out for fall hazards during a busy workday as well. If you don't, it can lead to pain, injuries, or even worse. For example, if you need to reach something up high, stacking up some pallets and standing on them may seem like a time saver until the pallets shift out from under you. If you choose to climb a ladder instead, be sure to keep your center of gravity positioned between the two upright rails, because losing your balance up there could get you to the ground a lot faster and more painfully than you want. Different walking surfaces provide varying degrees of the friction that is needed by your feet to get a secure grip. For instance, carpeting provides a better grip than a smooth tile floor, and a dry tile floor provides better grip than a floor that is wet. You can avoid slipping by being aware of the type of surface that you are walking on and how much traction it can provide. The walking surfaces you may encounter can be divided into three types: non-slip, moderately slippery, and slippery. Non-slip surfaces provide good traction regardless of whether they are wet or dry. They include rubber mats, carpet, surfaces covered with non-slip coatings, and rough textured concrete. Moderately slippery surfaces are reasonably slip resistant when they're dry, but can be very slippery when they're wet. These include vinyl flooring, unpolished ceramic tile, unfinished wood, and smooth concrete. Slippery surfaces don't provide much traction at all, whether they're wet or dry. They include polished marble and tile, smooth metal, varnished wood, freshly painted concrete, and of course, ice. The most slippery places inside of buildings tend to be near entrances, restrooms, and around machinery. Often the floors in these locations are made of moderately slippery materials, such as vinyl, tile, or painted concrete, which can become skating rinks when they get wet. If possible, these areas should be covered with non-slip materials, such as rubber mats or carpeting. You should always keep an eye out for oil, grease, and street grime on walking surfaces. They can all increase the slipperiness of any surface. Accumulations of dirt, sand, or other granular or powdery materials can also make surfaces more slippery. Outside of your building, you need to be careful when walking on sidewalks and pavements that may be wet or icy. And whether you're walking inside or outside, watch your step on ramps or other sloping surfaces. Your likelihood of slipping increases significantly when a surface isn't level. The more disorderly and run-down a workplace becomes, the more slip, trip, and fall hazards you're likely to encounter. But good housekeeping and maintenance practices can prevent these incidents as well as the injuries they cause. For example, you have to be able to see hazards to avoid them. So replacing a burned-out light bulb can help you or a coworker avoid a slip, trip, or fall. Keep all walking surfaces dry. If you discover some spilled water, use rags, paper towels, or a mop to clean it up. For substances like grease or oil that have accumulated on the floor, Spread an absorbent like vermiculite or kitty litter over the area. Then sweep everything up and dispose of it properly. Sometimes you may need to place a non-skid rubber mat or a piece of carpeting over a slippery spot. If you do, make sure that it lies flat and stays in place so people won't trip over it. There are lots of other slip, trip, and fall hazards you can encounter on the job too. Walkways and other high-traffic areas should be kept clear of boxes, tools, and other objects that could cause trips. Remember to pick up small items off the floor as well. Stepping on a pencil or even a paper clip could send somebody skating when they least expect it. Inspect stairways and clear them of debris and other obstacles. Check that the handrails are firmly attached and use them whenever you go up or down the stairs, just in case. Loose flooring, torn carpet, protruding nails, and small potholes can cause slips and trips as well. If you discover problems like these, block them off from foot traffic so people won't trip over them. Then report the hazards so they can be repaired as soon as possible. Make sure to close file cabinets and desk drawers after using them. That way they won't trip anyone who passes by later. Sometimes even the cleanup process itself can create slip or trip hazards. When you use a wet mop, put out signs to warn people about the slippery floor. And don't stretch power cords across high-traffic areas and walkways. That creates a serious trip hazard. Instead, tape them down and don't leave them there for more than a few hours because the tape will eventually loosen and create its own trip hazard. While it's important to reduce or eliminate any slip, trip, and fall hazards that exist in a workplace, it's also a good idea to wear shoes that will help protect you from them. They should fit properly, be comfortable, and have soles and heels that are suited for the surfaces that you will be walking and standing on. Avoid sandals and open-toed shoes. They have straps that can catch on things and cause you to trip. The heels of your shoes are especially important. Most slips occur when there is not enough friction between the heel and the walking surface beneath it. To get a secure grip, the heels on your shoes should be low and wide. High heels may look nice, but they can create real slip and trip hazards. They provide very little traction for your feet and can trip you by catching on carpet or irregularities in a walking surface. High heels also make you naturally unstable because they raise your center of gravity. Pay attention to the soles of your shoes as well. Soles made of synthetic soft rubber, such as those on sneakers and most walking shoes, can grip dry surfaces well, but may slip in wet conditions. Many work boots have soles made out of hard rubber. These soles don't provide particularly good friction on dry surfaces, but have good traction in areas that are wet or greasy. Some men's and women's dress shoes with smooth leather soles can lose their grip even on carpet and other non-slip surfaces. Fortunately, many attractive business shoes have slip-resistant rubber soles. These are not only a lot safer, but can also be more comfortable. Raised patterns or texturing on the soles, called tread, can greatly increase their slip resistance as well. Some work shoes and most work boots have especially deep treads to improve their grip and channel away water or other liquids that could reduce their friction with a walking surface. But an embedded pebble or thumbtack can turn even a slip-resistant shoe into a skate. So inspect the treads on your shoes frequently and remove any foreign objects that you find. Even when we do our best to avoid them, slips, trips, and falls can still occur. They happen quickly and without warning. So it's important to know ahead of time what you can do to avoid an injury or lessen its severity, and how to treat any injuries you might experience. What you do with your body when you fall can make a big difference in how much of an injury, if any, may result. The important thing to remember is to stay loose. Relax, don't tense up. Bend at your elbows and knees. Allow your muscles to absorb the impact gradually, and roll in the direction of the fall. Do not try to break a fall with your hands. If you land with all of your body weight on a hand, you could seriously sprain your wrist or even break some bones. If a coworker is hurt in a fall, there are a few first aid guidelines to follow. For minor injuries, you can clean any visible wounds with water. Stop any bleeding by applying pressure with a sterile dressing or a clean cloth. And apply ice wrapped in a cloth or towel to reduce pain and swelling. You should call 911 immediately if the victim is unconscious, unable to move, or has difficulty breathing. The injury bleeds heavily, or there is bleeding from the nose, ears, or mouth. Or you think the head, neck, back, or hip may have been affected. In some cases, the EMT dispatcher may be able to assist you with basic first aid instructions. Finally, you should comfort the injured person and stay with them until they have recovered or emergency assistance arrives. As we've seen, slips, trips, and falls can occur all too frequently in a workplace. But by understanding the hazards that lead to them and knowing how to avoid them, you can keep yourself on your feet and injury-free. Let's review. When standing, walking, and working, you can increase your stability by keeping your center of gravity low. Pay attention to the surfaces you walk on and avoid slip and trip hazards. Clean up spills immediately and keep walkways free of clutter and other obstacles. Wear shoes or boots that will give your feet the most secure grip for the conditions that you are working in. If you do fall, remember to relax and roll with it. By staying on your toes, you can help to reduce or eliminate any slip, trip, and fall hazards in your workplace and avoid the injuries that they can cause, so you can go home safe at the end of every day.